So we have Patrick O'Brien, who is the CEO of LenderLogix, who is going to be running just a live demo of QuickQual and walking you folks through how everything works. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to him.
Thanks, Olga. You can hear me, right? I'm unmuted.
Yep.
All right, perfect. Just going to share my screen here. Good morning, everybody. Please excuse the hat. I have a bright window in front of me, so the sun would be shining off my my bald head, and it would be kind of blinding everybody on the screen. So we're going to go with this look for today. Thanks for joining. Little background on LenderLogix. We've been creating mortgage technology for the last almost 7 years. We create various pieces of technology for the space, and anyone that's on the origination side of the house or done any originating in their career knows what a pain in the neck it is to manage the pre-approval process. So, you know, we as loan officers qualify borrowers for mortgages. We talk to them, we pull their credit, we run ratios, we run automated underwriting, and ultimately qualify that borrower for a house. And we send that borrower out into the world to find a house, and we know that those borrowers are going to have a million questions. So I'm just going to click into my presentation here. And we all know how competitive today's housing market is. It's a hot market. Houses are getting just ridiculous multiple offers, selling over list price and so forth. And homeowners are losing bids on houses that they love, oftentimes because they're just confused about what the financing looks like. They don't have the answers that they need to be aggressive, assertive home buyers to kind of compete in this market. A borrower that's not confident in what their financing scenario looks like, how much their payment's going to increase if you know, they make an offer of $5,000 more. Those buyers don't win houses. Buyers who are confident and assertive about what their scenarios are the ones that win houses. So what can we do to solve that problem? Well, we can give borrowers instant answers to the questions we know they're going to have. Okay, every loan officer knows when that buyer goes out into the marketplace, they're going to have questions around, what's my payment on this scenario? What are my closing costs on that scenario? What happens with my PMI if I put this much down or make that much an offer? How much are my closing costs going to be? How much cash am I going to need to close on this house between, you know, down payment and closing costs? We know borrowers have those questions. Loan officers get them asked every day of the week. And if you talk to a typical loan officer, they might say 30 or 40% of their time is spent fielding those questions from home buyers, potential home buyers. So what can we do to kind of send those borrowers out into the world, educated about what their financing numbers look like, so that they can become confident and assertive home buyers, while at the same time not tying up that loan officer to kind of be on standby to answer all those questions. So we created this product that's been in the marketplace for probably about 5 years now, a product called QuickQual. And basically what it does is it's going to solve that problem for those home buyers and for those loan officers to be able to give those borrowers instant access, instant answers to the questions that they have. We do this through a portal that also lets the borrower generate their own pre-qualification or pre-approval letter, as you know, as each lender defines that individually. So essentially what it does is it gives the borrower the ability to structure scenarios within parameters that loan officers set up. So it's fully vetted by a loan officer. And once the loan officer's vetted those scenarios, it's going to let the borrower run the scenarios and issue pre-qualification and pre-approval letters, as long as those scenarios meet the parameters that the loan officer has set up. So kind of show you what that looks like in a second, both from the perspective of the borrower and the loan officer as well. Having an adjustable pre-qualification letter a letter that allows that borrower to customize the letter to the offer they're submitting saves 40% of a loan officer's day. If you ask a loan officer, 40% of their time is spent fielding those questions as far as payments, closing costs, issue me a new letter. And of course, everybody knows it's always the most horrible times of the day. You're at the kids' soccer game, you're at a happy hour, you're out to dinner. That's when folks are looking at houses, and that's when they need this information. So having an adjustable pre-qualification letter that lets the borrower customize it themselves saves a significant amount of time with of the loan officer's time. It strengthens the relationship with real estate agents. Real estate agents don't want to wait around for pre-qualification or pre-approval letters either. So once that loan officer has vetted that scenario, the realtor themselves can customize that letter within the parameters that the loan officer has set. As far as compliance is concerned, what you see out in the marketplace today is loan officers are oftentimes just keeping Word documents on their computer or on their phone, where they're quickly just kind of updating things and just sending them out directly. There's absolutely no tracking or auditing of it or record of what was issued outside of the loan officers just kind of cobbling things together in Word documents. In using our software, using QuickQual, all this happens is a link that's sent directly out of the loan origination system. So nobody has to download an app or anything like that. It's all email or SMS based right out of the loan origination system. And it's highly customizable. So every lender obviously has their own set of scenarios. Every loan officer has their own, logos and color schemes and language that needs to go on their pre-qual or pre-approval letter. We handle all that. So it's highly, highly customized for exactly what your business process is. So let's show you how this thing works. So let's assume that our loan officer has their file set up in Encompass and they're ready to issue a pre-qualification letter. They've pulled the borrower's credit. They've entered the information on the 1003. They've looked at the ratios. They've run DU. They kind of have had that conversation with the borrower and have an understanding of how much cash the borrower has available to close and things like that. So the loan officer's got that file set up just the way that they do today. But instead of issuing the borrower a PDF pre-qualification letter that they would normally attach to an email, that static PDF letter, we're going to have them send it out through QuickQual. So basically, instead of sending that PDF, they're going to do what I'm just going to show you right here. And this will kind of maybe answer some of those questions in terms of what a loan officer sees and what a borrower sees. So what happens there is the loan officer clicks the button within Encompass, and what it does is it pulls over into our system everything that's needed to complete that pre-qual. The things on the center of the screen here are kind of what I'm going through here. There's a bunch of stuff on my left-hand navigation that are pertinent to other products that we sell. So I'm in a demo environment here, so I just want to state that. But basically, all the information that the LO needs to issue this pre-qual is just pulled over from Encompass. So we're just going to go through and kind of hit next on a couple screens here. Everything's pulled over the way that the file was set up. So my borrower name, what the scenario that we looked at for the borrower, purchase price, where's the property located, occupancy type, that type of thing. Really where the rubber meets the road here is the loan officer is able to set some parameters around the scenario that they're qualifying this borrower for. So in this scenario here, the file pulled over is a conventional loan, 95 LTV, 4.375% interest rate, monthly mortgage insurance, no points, no seller concessions, everything pulled over the way the file was set up in Encompass. What our system allows the loan officer to do is look at this file and basically set a cap on how high the borrower can flex their pity payment. Okay, so the loan officer can look at that file and say, okay, on this $250,000 loan, my borrower's payment is $1,890 a month between principal and interest, taxes, homeowners insurance, PMI, $1,890 a month. But they're at a 20 DTI. They're nowhere near the cap of what they would qualify for. So what the loan officer can do is set a cap to say, okay, in this scenario, this borrower can actually go up to $2,800 a month. As long as they're under $2,800 a month, which is going to keep that debt ratio maybe under 45, depending on what that borrower qualifies for, basically the borrower is going to be able to create scenarios and issue a pre-qualification letter in any dollar they want, as long as the payment is under that $2,800 loan amount. The other $2,800 pity payment. The other thing that the loan officer is capturing is how much cash does the borrower have available to close? Because obviously it's not good enough just that the borrower meets the payment requirement. They have to have enough dough to make the deal work between down payment, prepaids, closing costs. So in this scenario, just for our demo purposes here, we're saying our borrower has $65,000 in available cash. So what we're saying is, as long as the borrower runs a conventional scenario where the payment's under $2,800 a month, the cash needed to close is under $65,000, and it's under the conventional loan limit, the borrower is going to be able to issue a pre-qualification letter. If the payment's too high, they don't have enough cash, whatever the case is, they're not going to be able to issue a letter. I'm going to kind of show you what that looks like. Just a couple other things, like the loan officer can add additional notes to the borrower's pre-qual or pre-approval. So for example, if it was subject to proof of child support, the loan officer can create specific notes for this particular borrower. So when we're printing a pre-qualification letter or pre-approval letter, it's going to have that note attached to it every single time. You also see in my demo environment here, I can switch between pre-qualification and pre-approval. We set the scenarios up based on what the lender's appetite is for those kind of things. So sometimes you may have pre-approval, sometimes you may have pre-qualifications, and we configure the system based on what the lender's needs are. So right here, I have that option, depending on how a lender would set up their account. Maybe they would have only pre-qualification and not access to pre-approval. So that varies by client, from client to client. So once that loan officer has set that scenario up, they just have to decide, who are we sending this to? Are we sending this pre-qual to the borrower? Are we sending it to the agent? Are we sending it to both? It's totally up to the LO to decide on every single file, kind of where the pre-qual ends up going. So I'm just going to hit text borrower here. It's going to tell me it's texting the pre-qualification letter to the borrower, which is what we want here. And I'm also going to hit share with agent. So I'm going to hit share with agent. It's going to pull open a list of realtors I do business with on the regular basis here. I'm going to select Juliana. So basically what we've done is we were in the loan origination system. We issued the pre-qualification letter on this conventional loan up to a payment of $2,800 a month. We texted it to the borrower and we shared it with the real estate agent. So we didn't have to send them a PDF pre-qual letter. All that's taken care of. So the loan officer can kind of move on with their life at this point in time. They've sent it out to the borrower. They've shared it with the agent. Now let's take a look at what the borrower sees. So I'm just going to share my phone screen here just to kind of show you what the borrower sees. So Patrick's MacBook here. So basically, instead of that borrower looking at a PDF pre-qual letter, they've gotten a text message here that says, click here to access your QuickQual. There's a PIN number in the message there, 8735, which is specific to the borrower. So the borrower clicks that link. They enter their PIN number, 8735, 8735. And what it's doing is it's pulling open an interface here that's specific to the loan that we qualified this borrower for, which was a 30-year conventional loan. The system does allow us to qualify the borrower for multiple products. In this scenario, just to keep it simple, I only did a 30-year conventional, but I could do a 30-year conventional. I could do a 30-year FHA. I could do a 30-year. I could do a 15-year. I can do multiple scenarios for that borrower if they're looking at different loan types. But in this scenario, we set it up for a 30-year conventional. It defaults to the scenario that we started the borrower with, which was a $250,000 purchase price, 5% down, $6,000 a year in property taxes. And if that borrower scrolls down, they see a breakdown of their monthly payment. So principal and interest, taxes, insurance, and PMI, $1,890 a month. And if the borrower hits that little closing cost tab there, it gives them a breakdown of how much cash they need to close on this scenario. $22,000 between down payment, prepaids, and closing costs. Now our borrower qualifies, remember, because we set a cap at 2,800 and we said they have 65,000 in cash to close. So this $1,800 payment and this $22,000 cash to close are well within the parameters that the loan officer set up. So if the borrower wants a letter for this $250,000 purchase price, they can click that button there that says issue pre-qualification letter. And what it's doing is creating a PDF pre-qualification letter for this borrower for that scenario, that $250,000 purchase price. I'm just going to zoom in here, $250,000 purchase price. And you'll see that I had added that note subject to proof of child support. So that's hard coded now to this borrower's letter. They can't take it off or anything. It's, the condition that I needed to add as a loan officer. These letters are totally customized per lender. So we're showing you kind of a demo version here, but you would actually give us your letter. We don't force a letter on you or anything like that. We take your letter, what you use, what legal disclosure you need on there, what data elements you need on there. And we just map all the data elements to there, put the loan officer's signature on there and create it as a PDF file. Now, every loan officer knows that borrower is never going to be good with that initial letter that they got. They're going to need, they're going to look at different houses. They're never going to find one exactly for $250,000. So if that borrower goes out and now they're looking at a house for $270,000, they don't have to call the loan officer to ask them, hey, what's my payment? What are my closing costs? What are my options? Do I qualify? They can just update the sale price here to $270,000. It's going to apply the 95 LTV that the loan officer set up. The borrower can't put down less. They can't go in and put a 2% down payment because the loan officer set that max LTV at 95. The borrower can update the property taxes based on the house they're looking at. So $7,453, let's say. So what it's done is it's totally updated the monthly payment for the borrower. So the principal and interest, the taxes, the PMI, everything's been updated for this new $270,000 purchase price. The monthly payment's now $2,118. If we hit that closing cost tab there, the down payment's been updated. The prepaids have been updated based on those new property taxes. The closing costs have been updated. So any of the variable closing costs like transfer tax, title insurance, all those have been updated based on that new purchase price. So the loan officer didn't have to go run another closing cost scenario for that borrower. Those things are updated automatically and accurately based on that new purchase price and mortgage amount. So now our borrower needs $23,000 in cash to close. Their monthly payment's $2,118 a month. So if they want to issue a pre-qual letter, they still qualify. They're still under the $2,800. They're still under the $65,000. The loan amount is under the conventional loan limit. So the borrower still has that option available to them to issue pre-qualification letter. So now if they want a letter for the $270,000 loan amount, they can just click that button. And now they have a new letter that they can email, text, print, airdrop, whatever they want to do. It's a PDF, so they can do whatever they want to do with it for that $270,000 purchase price. So they were able to do that themselves. Again, my note still on there, subject to proof of child support. So our borrower can go in there and do that as much as they like. Now let's go in here and let's say our borrower is now looking at a house for $900,000. The monthly payment's $5,496 a month. The borrower doesn't qualify. We set the cap at $2,800. The monthly payment is over that dollar amount. So that button that was there that said issue pre-qualification letter is gone. It's now telling them their monthly payment's too high. It's telling them that it was set at $2,800. That's either a conversation they can have with the loan officer, but they can't issue a letter until they get back within the range that the loan officer qualified them for. So if they get back to say 300,000 here, $2,279 a month, now that button's available to them to issue the pre-qualification letter because they're back under the limit that the loan officer set for them. The borrower interface is super simple. Again, really dialed into what are the questions we know borrowers have. How much is my payment? How much my closing costs? How do things change if the purchase price change? Can I be qualified for this dollar amount? Can I get an updated letter? That's exactly what we're trying to accomplish with this interface without overcomplicating things for the borrower at that point in time. So I'm going to stop my phone mirroring here and kind of go back to the loan officer interface. So again, when the loan officer was done with the file, they just moved on with their life. They had texted it to the borrower, they had shared it with the agent. So everything, now the borrower is able to do exactly what I just showed, on my phone, what they're able to do. As the loan officer, I would have been notified of all that activity. Okay, so when that borrower logged in, when that borrower is running those scenarios, I would have been informed about what's going on. So instead of, whereas today we hand borrowers or email borrowers pre-qualification PDF letters, we have no clue what they're doing. We can't really manage that pipeline unless we reach out to them individually or, kind of hope that that borrower calls us back. Here we have full visibility into everything that's going on within that pre-approved or pre-qualified pipeline. So if I just hit this view details button here at the bottom, I as a loan officer can now drill into any file that's in my pre-qualified pipeline. That's something I can manage now. And I can see that 9 minutes ago, I issued this pre-qual to this borrower. 8 minutes ago, our borrower logged in from or we sent it via text message to the borrower. 7 minutes ago, the borrower logged in from a smartphone. That was just me logging in from my phone there. 6 minutes ago, the borrower issued a letter for $250,000, and 3 minutes ago, the borrower issued a letter for $270,000. Everything's audited and tracked. We want to see a copy of what that letter is. Here it is. Everything's there for that loan officer to have full visibility. So when I was a loan officer, I used to have weekly calls where you call your realtors basically and kind of talk about any activity that's happening. You used to have to ask the agents, hey, what's going on with this borrower? What's going on with that borrower? This flips the script on that. Now you're telling the agent what's going on in those loan files because you have full visibility into that pre-approved pipeline, which is not something that, again, happens when we issue paper pre-qualifications. Just a couple other quick things I'll touch on real quick. The expiration dates, we have that covered. Every lender has a certain number of days that they allow their pre-qualifications or pre-approvals to be out there before they expire. We set those in. So a borrower can't issue a pre-qualification past an expiration date unless that loan officer goes in there and extends it, which is usually going to come as part of the business process, is pulling new credit or rerunning DU or whatever the case is. And at any time, a loan officer, right from their phone, even if they just want to issue a pre-qualification letter themselves, so to not have to go back, pull out a laptop, go into, log into VPN, pull open the LOS, navigate to that borrower's file, rerun numbers, the loan officer can issue the pre-qualification letters themselves if they want to. So let's say they're dealing with a borrower that's got a flip phone and they're not going to want to issue their own pre-qualification letters. If that borrower calls that loan officer, on a Friday night and that loan officer's out, that borrower needs an updated pre-qualification letter, loan officer can just pop in right from their phone and within 30 seconds navigate to that borrower and issue the pre-qualification letter themselves right from this interface, right from their phone. So whether it's the loan officer doing it themselves, the borrower doing it, the realtor doing it, all those combinations work depending on what the scenario calls for. I think that's probably everything I wanted to at least show within the interface itself, just kind of for an initial demo. I'm going to pull back up my keynote presentation here. Let's try this one more time. Yep. And just some metrics. On average, borrowers log in 22 times. Across all our users, borrowers on average log in 22 times. As far as I'm concerned, that's 22 phone calls you didn't have to get. That's 22 times the borrower had a question about something. What's my payment? What are my closing costs? I need an updated letter. And 22 times they didn't have to get on the phone or send you a text message or an email to answer that question. They were able to come into your ecosystem and get that answer from you. In the worst case, when that's not happening, maybe they're getting that answer from somebody else. They're out on Google, they're out on Zillow running payments, which is obviously not what we want as loan officers, because those sites are just trying to convert our borrowers to leads for other lenders. So 22 times when we issue a borrower a QuickQual, they're coming back to us for that information versus seeking that elsewhere. On average, realtors generate 4 pre-qual letters as part of when a borrower is issued a QuickQual. Borrowers, the realtors, they're issuing themselves multiple letters because multiple offer scenarios, they're looking at different houses. And those realtors, they don't want to sit around and wait for a pre-qual letter on a Friday night. They'd rather just kind of pop in and give them, give the letter themselves based on, as long as it fits that criteria that the loan officer set up. Everything I just went through when I launched that, the QuickQual out of the Encompass file and I sent it to our borrower, that takes about a minute. It takes less time to do that than it does to, generate a PDF pre-qual letter attached to an email, send it out. From the point in time that loan officer decides they want to send a pre-qual to the point in time that it's in the hands of that borrower, either via email or text message, it's out there within 1 minute. And probably one of the most powerful statistics that we've found over the course of doing this for the 5 years that this product has been out, over 60% of the pre-quals that are issued on our system turn into loan applications. And because we have integrations with the loan origination systems, we can see those loans as they transition from pre-quals to actual loan applications. When a borrower is interacting with you digitally, running numbers within a piece of software like this, issuing pre-qualification letters, they are not going to go somewhere else. You have visibility and are creating a digital connection with that borrower that's going to keep them with you and help that borrower follow you through that process. That just doesn't happen when you email a borrower a PDF pre-qual letter. A million other people are trying to get at that borrower the second they walk out the door. So 60% of the files, when a pre-qual is issued on our system, turn to a loan application. We find that most lenders don't even measure those numbers, how many pre-quals turn into applications. A lot of times they'll measure credit reports to applications, but a bona fide pre-qualification, when that borrower qualified, we issued them a letter, how many turn into applications? 60% of the time. So if you knew that, when you issued 10 pre-qualification letters to a borrower, that 6 of them were going to come back as applicants because they were able to be aggressive in the marketplace, because they were confident in their numbers, because they weren't scooped up by another lender, 60% of the time that borrower comes back to you. So that's probably the most powerful statistic that we have. And I'll just say one more point on that. A lot of people tend to think when you give a borrower a digital experience that maybe takes away from developing a relationship with that borrower. The opposite is true. Borrowers are hungry for digital interaction. They want to talk to a loan officer. They want that loan officer there. They want the guidance of a loan officer. But when it comes time to kind of, just running quick numbers, getting their hands on a letter, they want the digital interfaces for that, knowing that the loan officer's fully vetted it, is standing behind it. So that's why we see such a significantly higher conversion rate from pre-qual to application. And that is the end of my presentation. So there's a lot of customization that goes into this with every single client that we have. So, what I might suggest is, if you're interested in kind of seeing what that might look like, or asking some of those maybe like institution specific questions, there's a QR code right on the screen here. There's an email address on the screen. You can shoot us an email, scan that QR code. We can kind of schedule a one-on-one demo to kind of have some of those more specific conversations about what it might look like in your environment, within your loan origination system. We feel, 5 years from now, we'll laugh about how this industry used to handle pre-qualification letters. I mean, we'll laugh about how we used to have to leave our kids' soccer games or walk away from the dinner table to issue a pre-qualification letter. You know, so, you know, getting, developing those digital strategies and using those tools is really, you know, we're in the early stages of it, but we firmly believe this is the way, you know, this is the way borrowers want it. And, you know, the lenders that use our tools obviously see the results and stick with it. So if you'd like to see how that, you know, would work in your situation, scan the QR code, shoot us an email, and, you know, we'd be happy to kind of, you know, discuss what it would look like in your environment. Olga, is there anything you'd hoped I would cover or any questions you think I left unanswered that I should jump in with?
I don't think so. Pat did definitely show like a high view of the demo for you folks. As you mentioned, if you have any specific questions regarding your business process, feel free to email the email that's on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule some time with us.
All right, perfect. Thanks for joining us.